When you walk up to the vehicle with the key, it senses the key just by approaching it, and it will turn on exterior lights. So you can see there's lights here in the front on. There's also an approach light with the Lincoln badge there in the center, illuminating from the door, which is also illuminated. And then you have the tail lights on as well, and the interior lights on, just by walking up with the key. Now when we hit the unlock button, we see a flashing light, but it's basically the same thing. You can actually turn off all the exterior lights and drive the vehicle right here with the off switch, which is unusual. A lot of vehicles won't let you do that. Now I have the parking lights on, and it's basically this LED strip that kind of underlines the headlights there, and it kind of gives you an idea of what the headlights look like without them being on, which is nice. So we can see that right now. Now I don't think these lights are bright enough to be mistaken for headlights, so they're nice visible lights without being confused with headlights. Some people drive around with their daytime running lights on thinking they have their headlights on, so that's why I mention it. There's also an amber side marker here in the front as well. The tail lights are on, and there is a side marker. Not only the tail lights wrap around to the side, but also there at the bottom as well. And the tail lights are really nice. Nice red glow wrapping around the back of the vehicle. Nice and bright too. Really bright, eye-catching, and just a deep red color. Camera makes it a little orange, but it is red. Now I have the turn signal on, and the turn signal is an amber LED strip just below the headlight housing. You can see it right in there, and it's quite bright. Definitely can be seen from a distance. Now there's also an amber turn signal indicator here on the side mirror. It can be seen from the front, the side, and the back. And then the turn signal here in the back is an amber LED strip just under the taillight there. And once again, it is quite bright. It is amber in color. Hopefully you can see the difference in color there, because my camera typically wants to make it look the same color as red, but it's definitely an amber color light. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn on the headlights. So there's the low beams, and we're going to look at it going down the road as well. But you can see there's also a cornering light as well. So as I turn the steering wheel, it shines a light there to the left. When I turn the steering wheel to the right, it shines a light there to the right. You can see when I go straight, then it turns them off. Now it will turn them on when I go in reverse as well, both of them. Give you an additional light there in the front. So the headlights are a nice and bright, sharp LED projector. So let me turn the brightness down on my camera so you can see, hopefully, what they look like here. So it's a projector LED. And you can see they also move back and forth as we drive. We'll look at that as we're going down the road. You can see it's two separate lights. So the high beam will be a separate projector. All right, so if I stand back here, and I can see, just looking at the headlights, they're not blinding me. As I dip the camera down, there's a point in which the full blast of the lights, and it's about 3 feet off the ground, so a little high, but you can actually see where the cutoff is. So right up here, I can look directly at the lights. I'm not blinding my eyes at all. It's only when your eyes are below most people's windshields is when the full blast. So it illuminates the road without blinding other drivers, basically, with the cutoff. Okay, so now let's go to the high beams. There's the high beams there. Once again, we'll go down the road with it so you can see what it looks like. But yeah, it gives us a whole nother additional light. So we have two projectors now illuminated. Well, I think that's great. Having additional light that turns on when you turn on the high beams instead of just a single light being refocused, this is really good. There we go. Now we can see a little bit better. Yeah, 2 lights on each side. When you open up the lift gate, you push the button here, lift it up, that light turns off, and then these lights down here turn on. This vehicle has a lot of pluses as far as lighting, interior, exterior lighting. The cargo light is the biggest disappointment, I think. We only have 1 light here. It is fairly bright, but it's just 1 light. And so when you put luggage in here, it starts to cast massive shadows to the left of those objects. And it's also in a kind of a low position. So if you put tall things in there, it's just going to give light on the right side and then get blocked by everything in the middle. So if they were to put another light on the other side, also lights under here on the underside of this liftgate as over the shoulder type lights, then it would be good. But the saving grace here is that it's bright, so that helps out a lot. There's also backlit buttons here as well. The inside of the rear door here has just mood lighting, just ambient lights here. And I have the ambient light set to blue. You can see that on the other side and in the floorboard. But when you open the door, it turns red or pink. Kind of looks pink to my eyes, but I think it's supposed to be red. The illumination is down there, here as well, and then you have a backlit button for the power window. But there's no puddle lights or anything like that here in the back. So we have that mood lighting or ambient light there on the floorboard. We have it in the doors. And then the lights back here are coming from either side of the sunroof there. So it kind of illuminates more in the center. There's a lot of shadows going on here. So not all that great as far as the lighting. And there's backlit buttons here for the heated seats. Inside of the driver's side door, it doesn't have any, once again, no puddle lights, no lights shining on the ground so you can see what you're going to step in when you get out of the vehicle. It just has this ambient light, which once again it's red instead of blue because I have the door open. And then the backlit buttons here, and then really cool kind of light around the controls for the power seat. And you can see a sill plate illuminated, floorboard illuminated, and then the front lights are pretty decent. They're coming from the center right here, and they illuminate there in the center pretty good. There's a few shadows here and there, but other than that, it's pretty good. The brightness on the heads-up display is always too dim to me. I think it has some kind of adaptive, like, depends on your surroundings feature that I can't turn off. So I got the brightness to the maximum, so it's still not that bright to my eyes. Especially when there's other lights and stuff, it's not very, very bright. Here on the camera, I had the brightness turned up so you can see a little bit better. So it's much dimmer than that to my eyes. And that's on the maximum brightness. Okay, so I have the interior lights on so you can see what they look like. Looking pretty good. And let's go ahead and turn off the interior lights. And we're left with the backlit buttons and mood lighting, that kind of thing. And it's pretty cool, these here on the door kind of outlines the controls for the power seat. And you have the mood lighting, which I have set to pink. A little bit there on the dash, some in the floorboard. Here in the cup holders. Illuminates the water bottles when you put them in there, it's pretty neat. You see the floorboard here. Here on the driver's door, you see the backlit buttons there. Alright, steering wheel. Now these buttons, the backlit buttons, they change, and I go through all these different features here during the other video that I did, all the features of the vehicle. So depending on whether you have the cruise control on, the lights will turn on or off, that kind of thing. And these buttons, you know, the buttons will change depending on what you're doing. And then we have these IR illuminators that are flashing on camera. I don't see them with my eyes, but this camera's picking them up. That's for the future kill switch that they're going to have. Basically, it decides whether you are paying attention to the road, and it'll basically cut your engine off. It doesn't do it now, but that's the plan in the future. It just beeps the horn and applies the brakes a bunch of times. It's really annoying. If it thinks you're not paying attention, then this camera looks at you, and if you're not paying attention enough for the system, then it starts slapping on the brakes and beeping the horn and stuff. It's really crazy situation. Also, we have these. Here's the screen, and you notice there's this warning here. I can't get rid of it. It won't let me make it go away. It just stays up there. You have to put your seatbelt on, and it won't even let you go through the settings and stuff. Like if I want to go into settings and set things up, it won't let me do that. Anyways, I go over this stuff in the daytime video. All right, so that's what that screen looks like. This screen looks great, really good. The clarity, the resolution, the colors, all that stuff looking really nice. Then we have the backlit buttons here. Then we have this little Lincoln projected thing. Projected symbol is kind of projected from up here. It goes right down there. This is illuminated nicely, very good. We have backlit USB ports as well. And you'll notice there's a little bit of light on my hand right here, and that's coming from up here. So if we follow that up, it's coming from right up here. There's actually a light there and a light there, and it kind of gives us a little bit of moonlight there in the center of the vehicle. Get our bearings, and just really nice addition. Having those, and they're fairly bright. And we have some backlit buttons up here as well for the sunroof, interior lights. We have these tap lights here. You can turn them on independently. We can turn all the lights on, that kind of thing. The visor has a lights and mirror, vanity lights, quite bright. So this armrest lifts up, and there's a light in here in this compartment, which is great, nice and bright. Glove compartment has a light in it. So Ford typically does a good job with their lighting. So this one, you know, the everything's illuminated. The little all the pockets, the compartments, that kind of thing. Cup holders. So yeah, I think they did a good job with the interior illumination here in the front. So if you want to change the color of the mood lighting, go to the settings and go all the way down to where it says ambient light. So you got the ability to change the color, but also the brightness too. So you can pull it down to turn it all the way off, or you can pull it up to increase the brightness. So if you want to change it to green, blue, red, like a teal color, yellow, and white. So we'll put it on blue right now. So yeah, the blue looks really nice. You see the cup holders there. Let's go ahead and just kind of go through some of the colors in the cup holders, because it's bright enough to where you can see the color change here. Yeah, all right, we'll go ahead and back to blue here. But yeah, this is really nice, being able to color, have a little bit of a color in customizable color in the vehicle. It's really neat. Let's look at the camera system, because this is pretty good. I'm in a really dark spot right now. So you can see around the vehicle, really dark. And you can actually see pretty decent. There is some dark spots, of course, but the lights kind of shine around the vehicle, and you can see good enough on the camera system there. Let me go ahead and put it in reverse so we can see behind us. This will be the most important, because we have the reverse lights going on. We have the brake lights back there, and we can see the lines on the road, and it's on the parking lot here. And it's quite dark here, so camera is pretty decent. So you can see the cornering lights there turn on. Hopefully you can see that. Really does help out a lot more than the motion of the headlights. I have the automatic high beams turned on, so we'll see how they work. And the low beam cutoff still seems a little high, so we'll see how that works too. It does have a little bit of a shadow on the oncoming lane, so that might help out a little bit. Also, my camera, I have turned up the brightness a little bit higher so you can see the pattern on the road. So it's going to look a little bit brighter than what they really are, what the headlights are. So the low beams are actually pretty good because we're able to see the road in front of us. It's not really patchy. Also, you can see on the sides really good as well. So even though the cutoff might be a little high, okay, so the high beams kind of fade in, which is pretty cool. But yeah, we'll see those high beams on a dark road here shortly. There we go, fading into the high beams. The high beams put a lot of light there on the sides, and if you're looking out for animals, that helps out a lot. So far, the automatic high beams are working great. They're not mistaking those light poles and stuff for headlights, and they instantly go to low beams when there's a car coming, and they're not flashing other drivers so far. Those are the three characteristics of automatic high beams on other vehicles. So we'll see. Hopefully this one will continue working well. Alright, me going uphill a little bit like this is a little bit of a test of the low beam cutoff, because we'll see if that person gets blinded. Seems like they're not flashing me or anything, but still that cutoff just seems a little high, which can be adjusted down. I'm just saying, some vehicles come from the factory with misaligned headlights and stuff like that. So, you know, the dealerships are supposed to check all that stuff before you gets delivered to you, but a lot of times it doesn't happen. So sometimes you have to take it back to the dealership to make sure that they align the headlights properly. Okay, so this road is quite dark, and okay, so there's the high beams. It's not going to high beams. Alright, there we go. Now it's going to high beams. Alright, so we can see the trees in the distance, the road nicely. There on the sides is really good. In front of the vehicle is good, but it's even more impressive on the sides. Not sure why we're going to low beams. Okay, I guess it could see that car around the curve. Alright, go back to high beams now. Go back to high beams. There we go. A little slow on that, but... And we're still on high beams. Now, okay, so yeah, the high beams suck. The automatic high beams having some problems there. Slow to turn on, and then on that case it was obvious there was a car there, and it kept the high beams up, so not all that good. Alright, so we'll see what happens here. Let me just go ahead and take control of the high beams here. What's interesting is that you have to turn off the automatic high beams in the settings on a sub menu in the settings on the screen. So it's not easy for me to just, I can turn them down, but taking control over them, it's not really happening. But all right, so yeah, as far as the automatic high beams, they're not good, but the actual headlights are great. High beams, low beams, really good. And they do have the motion. I don't know if you've even noticed, it has a very subtle left and right motion when you turn the steering wheel. So it's just a subtle angle thing, and I guess on certain roads it could be useful. So yeah, man, I had to flip it down back. All right, so we got automatic high beams on, but they're just really not working really good. So yeah, very impressed with the headlights, not so much the automatic high beams. You can see the left and right motion there in the headlights. When you're driving, they're not distracting. You can actually barely see them moving while you're driving, but they do move back and forth. You have to be going forward a little bit for that to happen.